You're watching the San Francisco 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I am Chase Sr. Let's get into the latest news and rumors on the 49ers, and there are a lot of juicy ones. And we kick off today's show by getting into the latest Julio Jones buzz. Just a warning for everybody, this buzz is not going to die down until the Atlanta Falcons decide what they're going to do with the 7-time Pro Bowler. According to The Athletic, the Atlanta Falcons would like to trade Julio Jones. As for the teams that are interested, the San Francisco 49ers, the Ravens, Patriots, Colts, Chargers, and Titans, all teams that could be interested in bringing in the 32-year-old. Now, we know that Julio Jones is somewhat expensive. There are some outs in his contract after the 2022 season, which we'll highlight here in just a second. But if the 49ers were to make a trade for Julio Jones, he has a $15.3 million base salary for the 2021 season. Now, here's what Jeff Schultz had to say in his report on The Athletic about the Falcons gauging interest for Julio Jones. Quote, "The Falcons would like to trade Julio. That doesn't mean it's 100% that it's going to happen. That doesn't mean some members of the organization don't believe the future Hall of Famer can still play when healthy. But Jones's availability on the trade market has been clear almost from the time new general manager Terry Fontenot and coach Arthur Smith landed in Atlanta and realized the extent of the team's salary cap problems. Anybody who wants to deny that likely is doing so out of mere fandom." Well, it's easy to be a fan of Julio Jones. He's really played every single game going back to like the 2013 season, but he has had to deal with nagging injuries, but that hasn't kept him off the field except for last year when he did only play 9 games. But when he was on the field, a very productive wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons as he was catching balls from Matt Ryan. 51 receptions, 771 yards, average yards per catch at more than 15. Also brought in 3 touchdowns as well. So even though Julio Jones is 32 years old, and yes, some nagging injuries have occurred, when this dude is on the field, still one of the most elite wide receivers in the league, which is why several teams, including the 49ers, are interested in him. So what does the faithful think? Should the 49ers trade for Julio Jones? Type T for trade, type P for pass. Get your votes in the comment section below. Here are some of the issues with a Julio Jones trade. I talk about the fact that he's 32 years old. How long is he going to be a premier player in the National Football League? He's also pretty expensive. And while injuries haven't kept him off the field, even though he only played 9 games last year, which was kind of rare for him because he's been steadily available, those injuries are starting to pile up. And at what point are they going to become more and more serious? These are things that general managers and head coaches think about, because when you make a big investment in a player, you want to have him at your disposal. And he has a potential out after the 2022 season, which is a bright spot if the trade doesn't work out. But you want him to be with your team for the long term, because you're going to have to give up premium assets to bring him in, maybe even a 2nd or 3rd round pick. But there's no denying the fact that Julio Jones is headed for Canton. He's a future Hall of Famer. And look at these numbers right here. You look at the top 5 most receptions, yards per game in NFL history. Julio Jones is number 1, bringing in 95.5 yards per game through the air on a game-to-game basis, ahead of guys like Calvin Johnson, Michael Thomas, Antonio Brown, and Odell Beckham Jr. That is an elite class right there, and it goes to show you the magnitude in which Julio Jones has been playing at for such a long time. That's why this guy has suitors out on the open market, because a team realizes if they trade for him, it is going to be a win-now move, and if the 49ers do so, it will be an immediate win-now move. The 49ers Report is made possible thanks to our friends at Newsbreak, a big supporter and sponsor of what we do here at Chat Sports. And when we all wake up in the morning, what's the first thing that we do? It's kind of sad. Our natural reaction is to roll over and grab our phones. I do the same thing. And when I do pull up my phone in the morning when I wake up, I pull up the Newsbreak app. Why is that? Because on one single feed, I get my local news and weather, as well as my politics, pop culture, and food, and all of my sports content. And for the 49ers fans kicking it with us here today, you can get your 49ers Report videos either on YouTube or on the Newsbreak app. Here's some more incentive why you should download the Newsbreak app by going to chatsports.com/49NB. We are almost leading the Chat Sports crew as far as followers on the Newsbreak app for the 49ers Report page, but we have to catch up to the Dallas Cowboys report. Last week I asked you, I pleaded for you, let's take over the Las Vegas Raiders. You helped us do that. 612 followers compared to 547, but let's catch up to Tom Downey and the Dallas Cowboys report. We have some work to do. They have 1,100 followers. And if you download the Newsbreak app right now by going to chatsports.com/49NB, follow the 49ers Report by Chat Sports on the page, and we will catch up to those Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to put that link in the description as well as in the comments. One of my favorite players in the National Football League, linebacker for the 49ers, Fred Warner. Guy is an absolute baller, and he has certainly exceeded expectations since being a third-round pick in 2018 out of BYU. I don't even know if the 49ers thought he was going to be an all-pro player like he was last year. Here's the issue. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent after this season, and he is no doubt going to secure the bag. Named a first-team All-Pro last year, as I mentioned. He made it to the Pro Bowl. His stock is soaring right now, unlike any linebacker across the NFL. And according to Ian Rappaport, the 49ers have not started contract negotiations with Fred Warner just yet. No need to worry, though, because those contract talks are probably going to happen soon. This is what Rappaport had to say in a report this week. The 49ers would like to lock up Fred Warner, who also could eclipse Bobby Wagner. Those two sides have not started discussions yet, but it's going to be interesting to see the timing of Darius Leonard and Warner to see who goes first in getting paid. Something important to note here. Bobby Wagner, average annual value around $18 million per year. Darius Leonard, he's going to want to get paid that. So too is Fred Warner. So what Rappaport is saying, which linebacker is going to set the market, which could then lead to the other linebacker getting paid next. You look at the side-by-side comparison for both of these guys, this is why they're going to make a lot of money. Fred Warner last year, 16 games played, 125 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 6 pass breakups, and 2 INTs. Darius Leonard, on the other hand, just as good. 14 games played, 132 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 7 pass breakups, and no picks. Let's look further at All-Pro Fred. $18 million a year for a linebacker sounds like a lot, but no linebackers in the National Football League, in my opinion, are built like Fred Warner. Sideline-to-sideline speed, and a guy that can absolutely wreak havoc. Also, he's a model citizen, a model teammate, a team captain for the 49ers, and a great element of this great culture that the 49ers have going on in Santa Clara right now. And I think at the linebacker spot, this is a guy that can alter, change, and affect games unlike a lot of other defenders across the NFL, which is why he might get paid. And also, 51 straight games played since he got drafted out of BYU, including the playoffs. So he has consistently been available for the 49ers. So while $18 million might sound like a lot, new TV deal set to kick in here soon for the NFL. The salary cap is going to skyrocket up. Maybe the 49ers are going to be able to afford that asking price. Who do you think's the better linebacker? I made my opinion known. I think it's Fred Warner all the way. I'm going to go ahead and type my FW for Fred Warner, but let me know who the better linebacker is, Fred Warner or Darius Leonard. Both of them going to secure the bag. Heading into the 2021 NFL Draft, the 49ers were able to maintain a masterful secret. Nobody knew what the hell they were going to do with pick number 3 in the draft and which quarterback they were going to select. Well, as we know now, they ended up picking Trey Lance, quarterback out of North Dakota State. I give the 49ers a lot of credit for keeping this under wraps because all of the media hype train was all over Mac Jones. Except for your boy right here. I did not give in to the Mac Jones hype. My first mock draft, I had Justin Fields. Then I went with Trey Lance. I also like how the 49ers did their due diligence and checked out the pro days for all of those quarterback prospects. And at the end of the day, they favored and fell in love with Lance. How were they able to keep all of this a secret, though? Well, General Manager John Lynch went on the Colin Cowherd show on The Herd on Fox Sports and said this: "What Kyle and I did was kind of keep it between us in an effort to give the process the due diligence that it deserved. Fairly early on, I had zeroed in on Trey. We wanted to hear people's real opinions, but ultimately we told our owner, the week of the draft. Can you imagine how Jed York was feeling? We told the people in the draft room when the second pick was on the board, that's who we were taking. We wanted to see it all the way through. In the end, the motivation was to let Trey hear it for the first time from us, from no one else, because I think that's a great surprise he'll have with him for the rest of his life. Can you imagine how Trey Lance was feeling when the 49ers pick came rolling around and he didn't know if he was going to be going to Santa Clara or if he was going to fall in the NFL draft? Instead, got to join forces with Kyle Shanahan, which I think is going to allow Trey Lance to develop and turn into a future stud. I talk about the 49ers and giving them credit for keeping everything under wraps. There wasn't a peep coming out of the building that the 49ers were going to move forward with Trey Lance. And I think at the end of the day, that helped them in this situation, but it also helps them in all acquisitions because it helps their leverage. If another team knew that the 49ers were going to try to make that trade up to number 3 to draft Trey Lance, they might have offered another team an even better package to jump the 49ers. Instead, they kept this all a great secret. They fell in love with Trey Lance after going to the pro days for Mac Jones, Justin Fields, and Trey. They liked his intangibles. They liked his potential. They liked his really, really appealing athletic skill set, and that's the guy who they believe is going to be their future quarterback. So a little bit of a joke here, but let's have some fun on the 49ers report. Given that they kept this under wraps, which is almost impossible to do, could Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch work for the CIA? Because virtually they can keep anything a secret. Get into the comments, type Y for yes or type N for no.